Well, hey there! Welcome to Zob's Projects. I'm Zobivore, not Zobivore. This is my co-host, Tara. This is the series in which I ramble about ridiculous stuff that interests me, and you're all along for the ride. Isn't that right, Tara? Thank you for smelling me. Where are you going? So I collect toys based on characters from my favorite media, and if it doesn't exist, then I build it myself. We're going to take a look at the workshop just a little bit here. So this is my workspace right now. These are some of the tools that I use. I use my paintbrushes very frequently. I've got my X-Acto knife right here. I use this to open up cans of paint, believe it or not, because they're stubborn sometimes because I don't clean them. But I wanted to specifically talk about one series of projects that were finished somewhat recently. It's these skeleton guys right here. But here's kind of what I do. I try to make these as close to the game sprites in Final Fantasy IV. I always want to say Final Fantasy II, but this shirt says 4, so I have to say 4 now. But typically what I'll do is I will, the first thing I do is I print out some game sprites to work from and to use for reference. This is the original game sprite from Final Fantasy IV as released for Super Nintendo. This is the slightly updated version for PlayStation. So I did refer to this, I did use this for reference, but my main goal was to match the colors and style and look of these guys as closely as possible. And the reason this is all smudgy is because as I was painting the toys, sometimes I'm like, well, did I get the right shade of brown? And I would actually physically paint the paper. So anyway, these are the action figures that I built that were based on those characters. So this one is just called Skeleton. And this was made out of an action figure from a toy line called Skeleton Warriors from the late 90s. It was actually a character named Dracula. He originally had 4 arms and had kind of more of a monkey-looking face. On this action figure, I actually substantially rebuilt the entire face. I also gave him some jaw articulation because his mouth was originally frozen shut. It was all one piece of plastic, but I actually hollowed that out with a knife. There's a wrestling... I can't remember what it was called. It was called the Create a Superstar WWE figure pack, where you could buy armor for your wrestling figures. And I found it online looking for knight armor and knight shields. And it was great because I was able to use the helmets and shields for these projects and use the armor for this project. The shoulder pads are actually spoons off of a My Life brand like play food set. So that would be it's like a soup ladle, kind of. But I screwed those onto his body, so there's actually screws holding them on, so they're on there really good. The hip plates here and the belt, it's all one piece that I actually glued these hip plates. These are made out of Sculpey. This is just a piece of plastic. But as you can see, it's on a belt. It's like an elastic belt that I just put on the toy afterwards. Because I knew that would be kind of fragile if I attached it any other way, but it's super glued to the belt itself. The belt is one of those elastic stretchies from like a journal. The boots are actually hand sculpted. This is Sculpey. I didn't have boots for him, and I'm like, well, I'll just make them. So this blue guy, this is called the Skull, so he's just the same monster in different colors. I built him the same as the others, which means I had to hand sculpt a pair of boots 3 times in a row. It also means I had to have 6 spoons and 3 sets of armor for him, and enough stretchy elastic to make 3 belts. The sword is from a My Little Pony the movie character. It had like a clip, so you could kind of clip it to the pony, because ponies have hooves, like they can't hold swords. I actually shortened the length of the limbs on this character significantly because I wanted him to be more or less to scale with my 5-inch Final Fantasy heroes that I had built previously, and the Dracula character from Skeleton Warriors, he was just too tall. But as you can see, I tried to keep him as close to the game colors as possible, even though he's kind of blue, and the blue skeleton is kind of unrealistic. And then this last one is the red bone, kind of a red tinged monster. So he retains pretty much all the same articulation as the original action figure. His head turns, his arms move. I actually had to create some articulation for his arm because I was trying to match this pose as closely as possible, where he's grasping his sword, you know, with 2 hands. And the original action figures couldn't do that. They were posed more like this, And so I thought, well, if I build him an elbow joint, I can straighten his arm, and then if I build him a shoulder joint, kind of a side-to-side joint, in addition to the swivel joint that he already had, then I could kind of bring his arms together like this so he could hold his sword with 2 hands. And I used several different techniques to paint these guys. As you can see, there's a little bit of silver on his armor. I went back with a dry brushing technique, which is basically where you take your paintbrush, you dip it in the silver paint, and then you just basically wipe most of the silver paint off, so there's just a little bit left. And then so then if you paint over it, just a little bit of paint gets on him, and then it kind of creates the impression that like maybe his armor is made of metal but it's painted, but then in the course of, you know, going to battle or being buried, you know, which I guess is what happens to skeletons sometimes, the paint has actually come off. And then for the actual bone, I did the reverse. I did a paint wash, which is basically where you take some paint that's watered down, you know, dip it in like a container, add some water to it, paint over the whole toy, and then I would take like a cloth and just kind of wipe it off. And obviously, if I take a cloth like this and I'm wiping paint off while it's still wet, it's going to wipe it off the exterior surface, but it's not really going to wipe off the parts that get in like the recessed area. So that's like where there's kind of a gray color, and that's kind of where that comes from. You can see that really good on his rib cage here and his spine. All of them have the articulated jaw. I made sure to paint the inside of the eyes and the nose and the inside of the mouth kind of a flat black, just so it looks like there's some depth there. I did carve out the eyes. He used to have like shiny chrome eyes. I was able to unveil these guys last October, just in time for Halloween. So it was kind of like my Halloween project. In the future, what I'd really like to do is look at new projects, something that I'm actually currently working on, so you can actually see the project in a stage of mid-completion. I do have like some potential projects here. I've got some ghosts I'd like to do at some point. There's a couple of gremlins I'd like to do at some point. So I mean, I have these papers ready. I've got a Beast Wars Inferno that I think would make a very good antlion. So I mean, I have some ideas of, you know, where we're going to go in the future. I mean, we'll see how far I've gotten on projects in a week's time, but you know, there's no guarantees and no promises. Okay, we're going to do another unboxing. So I'm trying to collect one of every G1 Transformer toy released in America. And this is the part of our show where you get to watch me open my new acquisitions in real time. Styrofoam peanuts. I'll just get my garbage box here. I don't really have any use for styrofoam peanuts, so I'm not going to keep them. What am I doing? Just take the damn thing out of the box. You know what? Hallelujah, it's snowing. Let's just do that now. Because it's okay. Well, you can see what it, again, if you can tell what this is, you're a pretty big fan. So yeah, I know what it is. This is my old friend Crosshairs, Autobot Targetmaster from 1987. Oh, he's beautiful. Okay, so I actually do own a copy of this toy, but this one is in much, much better condition. Okay, actually, hang on. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Just stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so here's mine that whoa, hi. I've had this one since I was a kid, but I mean, look, the wheels don't even stay up. It's floppy. I colored on it with a permanent marker. The stickers are like garbage, but I had this elusive piece. This is what turns this from a piece of junk into a gold mine. I'm excited about this. So, I mean, it's not a novel toy experience. Okay, he's missing some stickers, but that's okay. I ordered some stickers for him. There's a number of toys that kind of came more or less at the same time. I got my Sure Shot toy recently, who I owned, but he was in pretty sorry shape, honestly. I got Chrome Dome, which of course you saw in the last video. And I ordered stickers. Oh, I got Point Blank recently. So I ordered stickers for a lot of these guys because I was studying the condition of the toys through the eBay photos just to kind of see what they look like, but I didn't really know. So yeah, he doesn't have the tail light stickers on the bottoms of his feet. He doesn't have the pelvis stickers. But I mean, you can see the difference in quality. He doesn't have his Autobot symbol. So it looks like the stickers that are already on him are probably the factory stickers. I never bought Crosshairs new, though this one I inherited from, I think, some kid at daycare. I really can't remember where I got him from. There was a lot of kids when I was growing up who were outgrowing Transformers. At the same time, I was, you know, still into them, so I ended up with a lot of their toys. But I mean, I colored his eyes blue with a Sharpie because, you know, he's an Autobot, and I colored the bumpers black with a permanent marker, and it looks like I colored the tires too. I don't remember doing that, but I must have because it looks ugly. So this one, he's really hard to find with the window paint not scratched off. And this was a really good, the eBay photos were so blurry, I really didn't know exactly what I was getting. But I took a chance, and he actually looks really good. Like his rub symbol's in good shape, the wheels are really tight. He makes his little clicky sounds. I like those clicky sounds. That's the sound of a new G1 toy. None of the toys in my box over there make that noise anymore. Like, that's great. That's a great noise. That, you know, like in all the Transformer toy commercials, and all the G1 commercials, every toy made that clicky noise. Even like putting a weapon in his hand, you know, it would go like that. And like, no, it doesn't make that noise. That's not how it works.
Meet Ultra Magnus. As car carrier, he can transport 4 Autobots into battle. But once there, he transforms into my powerful Autobot commander.
Anyway, so yeah, I've got his stickers coming, so I can complete him with his stickers. And then he is beautiful, and he's such a good specimen. Like, the spring works on his head. So this isn't a new toy experience for me by any stretch of the imagination, because I've owned this for, you know, 30 years. But this is beauty, and I can put it on my display shelf with pride, and I can cross Crosshairs off my list of toys that I need to acquire. Just got to move some guys over. So, I mean, here is our friend Chrome Dome, who we opened last time, and I'm just going to... Oh, look at that. So every future installment, you'll see these guys in the background, including good old Crosshairs right there. And remember, if you sell me a Transformer on eBay, it might just make an appearance on this channel. Yeah, it's okay. It's verbatim. I did it. So I write these really terrible amateur fantasy novels. They're called the Butterfly Princess series. They're self-published by me, David Graham Edwards. They're available on Amazon, and there are going to be some spoilers for the first book in the series, so in case mayhaps you are desiring to purchase it and partake of its contents, then you may want to bail out now, because there's going to be some details about it. In the last video, we talked a little bit about the genesis of the series and kind of what led up to it. Now I just kind of want to do an overview on the first book, which was originally published on ebook format, so you could read it on Kindle. Later, after Amazon made it available, I was able to actually self-publish physical copies of the book. Like, those are my words. I wrote those words. And I created the illustration as well. Formatting this cover was harder than writing the actual damn book. This novel wasn't very long. It's only, in print, it's 222 pages. My second one was actually twice this length. So the first story is just about our heroine, the Butterfly Princess, who I ended up naming Mariposa. I know that's terribly not clever at all. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing in this book is original, okay? Like, nothing in here. Nothing at all. I'm just saying. The story is roughly about Mariposa meeting this human character, and I wanted to give him kind of a unique name. I gave him a name. I gave him a number for a name, so his name is 4, like the number 4. And she meets 4 injured in the forest, close to where the Butterfly Sanctuary is, actually, which is itself kind of disturbing. And she's never seen a human before, because her people kind of, you know, live in seclusion. And she nurses him back to health. He's never seen a butterfly princess before. He's like, wow, you've got these great big butterfly wings, and you're also naked. She takes him back to her butterfly camp, only to find that her people are missing, and that's kind of unusual, because she's the leader of her clan. She's the butterfly princess. Her mother was the butterfly queen, and it's kind of her job to, like, watch over her people. And so now she's really concerned, because all of these butterfly colonists have gone missing, and 4 agrees to help her find them, because he thinks that she's super sexy, and also because he's thankful to her for helping him recover. They encounter some nasty little creatures, which may or may not be called brain eaters, And so the thing you got to understand about Mariposa and her people in general is they're really kind of averse to names. They don't like names. They don't like labels. Most of her people don't have names because they don't really need them. Her colony is small enough that she knows everyone's faces. She doesn't need to use names. And they're kind of limiting in a way because, like, what if you have a name that's based on your profession or your trade, and then you decide you want to do something else? It's almost like you're stuck because you have that name that identifies you as a carpenter or a baker or whatever. And I mean, if you look at surnames in modern human society in real life today, there are a lot of surnames that were once either professions, or it kind of identifies you as the spawn of another person. You know, like Johnson, that's what the last name means. It means you're John's son. That's where that last name came from. Or Stevenson. And that's why we have a lot of last names like Carpenter, Baker, Miller. You know, I mean, like those are things that you did. So I mean, what if your name is John Carpenter and you decide, you know what, I don't like hammering nails into pieces of wood. I really want to sing in the opera. Thor, meanwhile, was actually on board a pirate ship that had run adrift, and he was attacked by the moth people, who are the enemies of the butterfly people. And one of the other pirates, a plucky little blonde chick named Christabel, has been captured by the moths. And so Thor wants to rescue her as one of his crewmates and one of his friends. At this point, Mariposa's a little jealous because she thought this book was just going to be about like him and her getting together, and now like there's this new chick. It's all about creating interesting character interaction. And I will freely admit that I was making up the whole first book as I went along. I mean, I kind of had sort of an idea that I wanted to include things like dragon beetles from the illustrations that we talked about last time. I knew that there was probably going to be, you know, pirate ships and dragons and just elements that I liked and wanted to work into the story in some capacity. But for the most part, I was just like, let's just type this scene and see where it leads. And okay, now we've got this scenario, so let's just type another scene. And that's kind of how I did it. I wasn't thinking in terms of a series. I was thinking in terms of, can I actually write enough about these characters to produce a novel? So that's about all the time that we have for this segment for this week, but next time we'll go into a little more in depth into book 1. I will, as always, keep writing, and remember, there's no such thing as writer's block. If you think you're stuck, then you're right, and if you think you can write a book, then you're also right. Thanks for watching my videos. I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate that you chose me. Click the like button to let me know that you watched the video and enjoyed it. You can click the obnoxious Z with the exclamation point to subscribe. If you leave rude remarks in the comments section, then that just means you're not really a very nice person at all. I will see all of you here next week.